What's up, guys? Today we have my first formal bourbon review of 2022. Coincidentally, it's the Barrell Bourbon New Year release for 2022. Is this New Year release a perfect way to kick off 2022? Let's find out on the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I am Jason C. from the Mash and Drum. Today we are reviewing the Barrell Bourbon New Year for 2022, which includes a pretty intense blend of whiskeys distilled from 7 different states with various age statements and bottled at cask strength. Take a look. So, led by founder Joe Beatrice and Chief of Distillery Operations and Chief Whiskey Scientist Trip Stimson, Barrell Craft Spirits, which is based in Louisville, Kentucky, is an independent blender and bottler of unique age, cask-strength sourced whiskey and rum, recognized for its blending expertise. So Barrell Craft Spirits, among their offerings, have brought us award-winning bourbons, rye whiskeys, ultra-aged offerings, as well as their standouts, the crazy blends, the Armida, the Dovetail. They have rums, their budget rye and bourbon releases called Stellum, and my personal rye of the year for 2021, the Seagrass. So every autumn, Barrell creates a very special blend of bourbons to toast the new year to come, as a tribute to the fresh possibilities and sense of renewal that every new year brings. They bring together a unique blend of whiskeys. So for 2022, this new year includes a selection of 5, 6, 7, 9, and 14-year-old straight bourbon whiskeys distilled in, here we go, Tennessee, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Wyoming, New York, and Texas. They were blended and bottled in Kentucky at 115.34 proof, which is cask strength. The price, $85. So this is my first review of New Year to taste what Barrell does best, and which is blend. I really think blending is what we will see from most newer brands in 2022, especially with the how difficult it is to do some contract distilling, because everyone is contract distilling. The one thing I respect about Barrell is that they own it. They are a blender. They've never shied away from being labeled as a blender, and like I said, that's what they do best. So let's dive into the Barrell New Year. Here we go. Now, because of all the distillate, all the different types of ages and different types of bourbons from around the country that are in this blend, listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I could pick up every single state that's in here, but the one thing I do feel like you get is you get a nice mix of the youthful spirits and you get a mix of the well-aged spirits. So you get a really nice intense sweetness, but there's also like a grain quality to it, a little bit grain forward. I get this really weird combination of like tangy barbecue sauce. There's like a smoke element to it, which is really strange. But on the flip side, vanilla icing, powdered sugar, there's definitely a citrus element to it. I would say like a lemon lime type thing going on. So I really feel like you get a nice spectrum of young whiskey and old whiskey, which is, that's an art in itself, kind of blending that together to, make something work. But yeah, the weirdest thing is like that tangy, like sweet and sour barbecue sauce like type thing I get on this. Yeah, and then you dive back in and then it's like butterscotch and whipped cream. So the nose could kind of, depending on your nose and what you've experienced, this probably can take you an array of directions depending on, I feel like with a whiskey like this, my experience is going to be very different from everyone's experience because of how many whiskeys is blended into this. So let's try it. I really like the palate on this. I like the palate way over the nose. Yeah, the first thing I got on here is like an apple, like a sour apple note, like Sweet Tarts or Sour Patch Kids, like the apple Sour Patch Kid. That was the first thing I kind of felt like I got when I tasted this. Get a nice punch of cinnamon here. There's definitely a little oak spice, but I think where you get the youthful characteristic is on the finish. There's like this bitey prickliness to it that I think takes over a little bit. You get some of that grain, a little bit of that minerality that comes through on the back end of this as well. But yeah, it kind of starts off like sour apple, gets to like dark fruit a little bit. Still trying to like pinpoint what I'm picking up here. Maybe it's cherry. Yeah, I'm gonna go with like sour cherry maybe. Like a sour cherry profile. And then as this finish goes on, you really start getting some of the youthful notes in here. The bite that it's given. Not in a bad way. It's a lot of black pepper that I'm picking up. It's got this weird like evolution where you think it's gonna kind of end very softly. And then it does, it kind of goes away, and then you're left with just this tingling black pepper spice that just sits and goes on and on. I feel like the more you sip this, the more youthful notes start taking over a little bit. More citrus, more like, you know, bright vanillas. Again, that sour cherry note, sour apple is still there, but I wish there was actually more of it because I'm kind of digging that actual like flavor profile on it. Maybe like the slightest hint of chocolate there. It's a little bit dry on the finish, but not terrible. One last sip here. So front of the palate, you still get that little bit of a sour apple note, little sour cherry, a little bit of a kick there. Works its way to the middle of the palate. More of the spice and the grain starts taking over. Again, maybe like a slight hint of chocolate comes in there, I think. And then kind of like that youthful grain note characteristic comes in, but it's not in a bad way. I do think it's pretty viscous on the palate. And then as it heads back, it feels like the finish is gonna kind of fall off a cliff, and then it just comes back with all this black pepper, spice, gets very savory, and I think that's where the youthful notes come back and shine a little bit more. The only thing I could maybe say is that I think the youthful whiskey is starting to overpower the older whiskey. Again, they don't give you proportions as to how much of the older stuff is in here, but I think there's probably more younger than older just based on what I'm tasting. All right, final breakdown. All right, price for this, about 85 bucks. Secondary, I've seen these as high as about 125, so not too much of a markup. Availability, these are actually pretty well available depending on if Barrell is available near you. Plus, they're actually readily available online, even at barrelcraftspirits.com. If you go there, you could actually buy a bottle right online if they ship to your state. So I would say availability on this is pretty good. Value, so for all the different ages in this and the amount of distillate that's in this, especially from smaller distilleries, I think the value's even. I think for 85 bucks, I think it's even. I don't think it should be priced higher, and I don't think it probably could be priced lower. Most I paid for this is retail. I'm not like super crazy about this, but it's also like keeping me interested. I would like to see how this bottle develops over time. So I really wouldn't want to pay more than this just because there's so much different types of flavors going on. And I want to see how they evolve. So is this a recommend? I'm going to say try before you buy on this one. This isn't a definitive yes. I'm a huge fan of what Barrell does. Most of the time I could say, yay or nay on their bottles. This one is, like for instance, seagrass, I could taste that and tell you, hell yeah, it's so different, it's so delicious. You could pick out different flavors, but I feel like those flavors are all going to be different, but still good for a lot of people. Whereas this, I feel like some of that mix of youthful bourbon and older bourbon, plus the different flavor profiles from different state, terroir comes into play. I think a lot of people can get some really different things in this whiskey, whether or not it's good or bad. So try before you buy for this. Not a home run, but still an impressive blend, and Barrell just doing what they do. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, the first 2022 bourbon review, full formal review here on the Mash and Drum. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter. Let me know if you've had this yet, what your experience was. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers, and I'll see you next time right here on the Mash and Drum. Take care.